In the middle of the night, one of the siblings was coming up and putting their hand over my mouth and was sexually abusing me. I began to be known as the Brownie Queen, and now I started to get involved in the occult. And let me tell you something, it is very real.
The God that you were serving didn't show up for you that day, but a God that you didn't know.
It was like liquid honey that was poured on me when I was yelling and screaming and blaming this God that I said I didn't believe in. There is really a God. He came to me. I met him and I want to follow him. I want to be his disciple. I want to know everything there is about him.
Welcome to Deep Love, a podcast with a heart to inspire you to serve, not to support us, not to join us, but to answer the call to join in Him, going and serving. Our hope is to stir, encourage, and invite you to join Christ in His mission with a heart of Matthew 25, Isaiah 61. Come together to fulfill the Great Commission in Matthew 28, to call us to embody His love in action.
What's up, y'all? This is Chase.
This is Raul.
And we're glad and excited to be joined today by our dear friend, Roseanne. She is a minister of the gospel. She is a wife. She is a spiritual mother to many. And by her own admission and by our experience, a very passionate woman, which you'll see today. And we're very excited to be joined by her. And so, Roseanne, thank you for the time. How have you been?
I've been just wonderful, just doing what God has asked of me to do. And I believe that if I woke up this morning, it's not because I just woke up. It's because God Himself allowed me another day and a gift to be alive so that I could be able to let others know that He is alive.
All right, maybe to dive 6 feet deep right off the start. That is some real intentionality that not very many people have, and like a presence and awareness that not very many people have. Where has that intentionality, where has that presence come from, and how has that developed for your life, for your heart, for your mindset, all of that?
I did not have that kind of an answer. I was shackled in my heart and in my mind. I did not have the understanding of why even wake up. I did not understand what it meant with a purpose and a direction just in an everyday life. I was shattered, and I hid it very well. I became very skilled in hiding my pain, just like many of us.
Yeah.
We don't want others to know what we really are thinking, what we really are going through, because of the fear of what we all have experienced, which is the rejection and the embarrassment of, why am I even waking up? Is there really a meaning and a value of me being even here? Until there was a moment in my life where I literally was yelling and screaming at a God that I didn't even know that existed. But I wanted so much to know, is there really a God that exists? And in 1972, 12:28 at night, October 9th, and the only reason why I know it is because I was all the time journaling.
Yes, paint the picture, Roseanne, just as
I
much as you
was
can.
in my room where I lived, which is Long Island, Smithtown, Long Island. And there was a movement that was happening in California, and that same movement was happening in Long Island, the Jesus Revolution. And I had been searching to find out what is the reason why I keep waking up every morning. Who's waking me up anyway? Who's allowing me to be even alive? For what reason should I continue to exist? Until there was that day, and I was literally yelling and screaming at a God that I said that I didn't even know exists. Because I had been involved in searching to try to find answers. Aren't we all?
Yes, very much so.
Wow. I burdened you with, hey, we have to have this amazing woman named Roseanne who I met close to, I think Roseanne remembers better than I do, but I'm going to say almost 7 years ago. I am just filled with a burden to just serve. I won't even say in the capacity, and I won't spoil it for the audience. I'll let Roseanne share and how she and how the Lord have just partnered together to serve those that she has been led to. But just to serve, and through some incredible encounters, they told me about this ability to step into a environment where freedom was expressed in such a way where freedom would be least expected. And I'm doing my best to not spoil it. And after going into places like human trafficking, brothel type of environments in third world countries, and going into the streets or going into halfway houses with a mentor and doing what I believe the Lord was leading me into, then I run into this incredible woman, and we walk into this environment, and I asked the simple question of what is this going to look like? And without answering my question, I'm captivated. I'm captivated with the passion, which I'm sure you just noticed, or for those that are listening as well. And I'm captivated with, wow, I need to understand how this happened. And so that kind of segues me to much of what I'd love for Roseanne to share on, of, what did that environment look like, if you can share on like how old you were and the background in regards to this, like yelling out to this being that you're saying you didn't even know was listening, which I think we've all found ourselves in that environment. Even as believers, I think we have times we'll yell out and even doubt, is he even listening? Or is he busy doing maybe more important things, which, we know as scripture tells us he draws near to those that draw near to him. But in light of that, if you can paint the picture of, as what you feel comfortable with, Roseanne, of just how old were you? What did childhood look like? Because I know you have a wild, eclectic, just journey to come to the Lord, and then segue into how you served Christ. And that's when I get the privilege to meet you. I'd love to.
Yeah, because I know a little bit of your story. Raul knows much more than me. So yeah, please share.
So I was brought up in an Italian home, and was brought up where we went to church, but church was of a religion that was extremely boring to me. And when going to the classes that were required by that religion, I was always asking questions and nobody could answer me.
I know the feeling.
And they actually got annoyed at me because they could not answer what I was asking. And my home life, like every other home life, has challenges. Wonderful mother and father, but they were lost.
Mm.
And in their own brokenness, they could only give what they had.
Mm.
So when I was about 8 years old, because I didn't like the environment that I was being brought up in, I would go over to the neighbors, and I was the golden child. I was ready to serve, clean the dishes, do everything. And I saw that I got this attention by this behavior.
Mm.
But what started to happen is in the middle of the night, one of the siblings was coming up and putting their hand over my mouth and was sexually abusing me.
Mm.
And I knew it was wrong, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Was I going to go back to the environment of the home that I was being brought up, or was I going to go to the neighbor's environment and get this attention? But now this was starting to happen, and I knew I didn't want that either.
Mm.
And I never told anyone. But when I was 9 years old, when my mother and father would argue, my name would come up. And I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to fix this problem. So my mother and father entertained quite frequently, and I decided to take a bottle of pills and fix the problem, because if I wasn't there, then therefore Mommy and Daddy could be happy and I could be out of the way.
You could fix the problem. Mm.
So that didn't happen. I woke up after many hours after that and continued to just keep going and begin to develop this skill of survival and hide my pain.
Mm.
And as I began to grow up, when I was about 13 years old, someone introduced me to marijuana.
Mm.
And now I began to see what it was like to really have something that was going to add up in my skill of hiding my pain.
Mm.
And I decided to grow it in between my father's garden of his magnificent tomatoes. And I told him, I'm going to take care of the garden, knowing that I was wanting to take care of what I had now developed. And I went into business for myself. I began to be known as the Brownie Queen. I would make cash. I would make the best brownies that you could have. And now I had a new identity. Because the root of everything really is, who am I, or who do I really want to be recognized as?
Mm-hmm.
And now I was being recognized. Roseanne's the Brownie Queen, if you want to get some really good brownies.
Mm.
And I was thriving on that because I could not get an identity that I really should have gotten from an environment that was supposedly to be one of building you up, loving you, giving you some kind of direction in your life. But you can't have individuals give you that if they don't have it themselves.
That's the truth.
So as I continued to grow, I really was getting off on the power of that, and I started leading a women's gang. And I taught young girls how to steal whatever they wanted to steal. I had a technique, I had a strategy, And even if we had money, it was the rush walking out of, let's just say, one of those stores, and I got away with it. The power is something that the identity grew on. So now I'm the Brownie queen, and now I'm the woman who has a gang, and I have a following on both accounts. Well, that wasn't good enough for me. So I wanted to have some kind of spiritual encounter. Somebody invited me to a meeting. I didn't know really what it was, but I soon found out as I went back, because when you want to draw people into something that is of a deception, you don't let them know right away what you're being invited to. Nobody told me that I was being invited to an occult where people bowed down and worshiped Satan. All I knew is they were very close with one another. It was a culture, and they made you feel like you were part of a family and that you were valuable, and whatever you could contribute, hoorah, we want you to come back and be part of us. So from the very beginning, we're all looking really for a family.
As we're all orphans, as Scripture
Right?
says.
We're looking to be loved. We're looking to have the purpose and the identity. But so many of us don't realize that we're looking in the wrong place. So here I am, the Brownie queen. Here I am, the woman who's got a following, and you better do it the way that I want you to do it, or you're not going to be part of my gang. And now I started to get involved in the occult. And let me tell you something. It is very real. And there's power thereof.
And so a question which may roll into what you were just thinking of mentioning is, what, as you started to get into witchcraft,
Yes.
was it promising you that you thought it was going to deliver, that maybe it didn't, or did for a while in a counterfeit form?
Yes.
And then eventually crumbled? Like what, anything that spurs thought there?
So witchcraft gives you the level, it's all about power, that you can be able to release a curse on someone and watch it happen and it be hurtful to someone. And it's all about, yes, I have the power to do that. See, everyone wants to be able, it's all rooted in the desperate need of identity. I got to know who I am or who I want to be, and then walk that out, and you become so self-absorbed that you don't care how it's going to hurt someone. And the root of witchcraft is rebellion. I was rebelling against authority, rebelling against what other people would want to say that I need to be, rebelling against purpose. And when you come into the occult, how we would get new members is we would literally go to funerals. You find out that when you go to the wake and the funeral, people are very lonely. Not many people show up, and you begin to love them.
Hmm.
That's how the occult gets more members.
Would you say real love or manipulative love?
No, manipulative love. Because you don't even know love. You're looking for love, and you think that what they're showing you is the real thing. But because you're so empty, trying so desperately to fill what you don't even understand about this hole and this emptiness. That's why you get into drugs. That's why you get into addictions. It's because it's such a deception, and it's so temporary.
What season of life are these? So like phase into like, you're 8, right? You're setting the stage, you're with this, you wouldn't say horrendous upbringing, but just definitely not in an environment where your parents can give what you don't have. I often actually am in the streets and I'll say, look, they're begging you for money, and I'll say, look, if I had 5, but you're asking me for 10, can I give you 10? And they'll obviously tell me no. That means I can't give you what I don't have, which is very much what you're communicating in light of your parents, right? They maybe had a desire to give you more, but they just didn't have to give it, right? And so you often have them borrowing from something they don't have to give, and there's where resentment, bitterness, and somewhat the only blame they have to offer is either each other or the child themselves. And so you're 8 at this point. You find this family that somewhat gives you this element of reward, affirmation, and then somewhat false identification to where you find worth. Then you have this demonic experience, right, with sexual abuse that's happening. In spite of who that is, I don't think we need to disclose that right now. But then that evolves into what probably is just perverting a view on where you would find identity, where you would find your worth, where you would find your value. And so that is at some point then transitions into the Brownie. So how is that from age, just so we can have a gauge of where you're at?
Yes, when I was 13 is when the first time I had gotten high. My mother and father both committed adultery with their first love.
Mm.
And that completely shattered me. I was so young, I could not understand how my mother, who was desperate for love from my father, but he was committing adultery, and she would tell us, your father's not home, he's out with some woman. And because of her own identity and her own love tank being empty, we were so young. Why are you telling me this about my father? And then my mother had a nervous breakdown, and the doctor told her, you need to get out of the house and you need to go to work. And there she is working, and her first love walks in the store. He has a broken marriage, she has a broken marriage, and she starts engaging in a relationship. And one night, it was at 12 midnight, I heard my mother talking to somebody on the phone in the basement. Back in the day, you would unplug the phone and you would plug it in the jack wherever you had it. And I thought,
You're bringing us back, Roseanne.
Who is my mother talking to? And I heard her, and I went through her drawers, and I found love letters from this man. I did not talk to my mother until I was 18.
Would you say that's around the time where the Brownies, Brownie Queen?
I started doing the Brownie Queen when I was 13.
Oh, wow.
And I loved having the identity being called that I'm the Brownie Queen. I literally got high the minute I woke up in the morning.
And what age did you have the experience with the Lord?
When I was 18.
About 18. And so what, maybe, because we want to get into some of your ministry stuff here in a minute, because it's fascinating. What you described it a little bit already, but to coalesce this, what were some of the things that led up to that experience that were either shifts in either the weeks or months leading up to that surrender to the Lord, or just what was going on in life at that time?
So, my very dear best friend, Mary Lou, she had an experience with God. She became born again, and I was so angry at her because she was like family to me. I could always count on her. And when she had given her life to the Lord, I was extremely angry, and I started to become bitter. How could you think about God over being my friend? And she had told me a little bit, and I wanted to have nothing to do with her. So when I was finding out about the things about both my father and my mother, and that everything that was supposed to be security was crumbling in front of me, and I was experiencing it, and there was no way I could control it, change it, make it go away.
Which that was the power kick, right? So now you find yourself powerless.
So now when I started partying, and I realized, wait a minute, I could laugh. Because when I would get stoned, I would laugh. And no longer was that world. So now, being something to affect me, I'm now going to affect that world with this substance. So I stayed stoned. I literally stayed stoned. And I didn't have to pay for it. I was growing it myself. It's very easy to grow marijuana.
For those listening, don't try this at home.
Anyway, I barely graduated, and my first love had decided, because his mother influenced, we were supposed to get married, but his mother had taken care of the priests. And she said, I'm not blessing this union unless you go and try to become a priest. And I was devastated. What is this with this God stuff? First, my best friend, she's had this experience with God, and now my first love from 15 years old. And we were
How old are you at this point, Roseanne?
At this point, when she had started to serve God, I was 13 when she had given her life to Christ.
And then with your first love?
And then my first love, when I met him, I was 15.
Oh, wow.
And I'm still doing marijuana. And then I started getting involved in the occult. And then I started getting involved in, I am going to have my own little groupie. And I started stealing whatever I wanted to. And they were asking me, how did you get that? You don't got a job. I said, I'm going to teach you how to do it. And I gave everyone a part in the plan to get whatever they wanted to get.
Yeah, and then all leading up to 18, surrendering to the Lord.
So now I had gotten involved in that, and I was invited to a meeting, not knowing where I was going. And they don't let you know right away, because it's not like they are, let's bow down. It's not like we're doing blood sacrifices. It's just a group, and they say very positive things to you to make you believe that you're wonderful. Satan never exposes completely himself. He's always he's an angel of light. He's got to get the hook in without you knowing it.
And so maybe you've noticed this already as you've had moments of self-reflection, but as you're talking, there's heartbreaking things that you're sharing, but at the same time, your best friend coming to the Lord at 13,
Yes.
and then your first love at 15,
Yes.
and you at 18, like the Lord is pursuing you this whole time.
Yes.
Which is so, so beautiful. Speeding forward just a little bit. So you surrender to the Lord.
How did that happen? How did that happen?
Before I surrendered to the Lord, what happened was my first love went off to go become a priest. And the night that he had went, all us girls would go to this place to hear this band. We were sort of like a groupie, and I loved to dance. And me and my first love, we would actually practice during the week how to do swing dance, disco, and we would go to places and they'd make a circle around us. It's all about the power trip and the identity. So he went off, and here I am with all my friends, and we're dancing, and I'm sweating. And this guy comes up to me to ask me to dance. And we danced and danced and danced, and it was so hot, and we were sweating. He says, "Oh, let's go outside." And it was pouring rain. So he said to me, "Come on, come in my car." I never did that. The rule was you don't go in the car. You go with the girls and you come home with the girls. But I was pretty toasted. Went in the car, and this is what propelled for me to be able to cry out to God. Back in the day, you had 8 tracks. And he had taken an 8-track. He lit up, we got stoned again, and he put the 8-track in, and I didn't notice what he did, but he did something by my door. And actually, it was a setup that he had because he locked me in his car, and I couldn't get out. And not to go into the full details, but he raped me. And I tried to get out, and I said to myself, I am so stoned, but I don't think I'm that stoned, because the button on the car door, when it's up, that means that you can open the car. And I saw that button, but I couldn't get out. And he took out a knife, and he said, "I just came from Vietnam, and what I like to do, I like to cut off women's breasts." He says, "And I'm going to do that to you because you can't get out of this car." All I thought was, this guy's going to kill me. He's going to roll me. The band is playing. Nobody knows I'm in this car. And inside of me, I said, if there's a God, please get me out of here. If there is a God. And shortly after that, he had jumped off of me. He undid that lock, and he kicked me, and I fell on the ground, and he took off. I went in to the discotheque, and I said to my friends, "I want to go home." He says, "What's the matter? You look like you're white." I couldn't even talk. And from that point, 6 months, I could not sleep. I never stepped in a bar again. I still continued to get stoned. I no longer even wanted to go to the occult meetings.
The God that you were serving didn't show up for you that day, but a God that you didn't know, relentlessly trying to get to know you and trying to reveal himself to you, did, and you couldn't sort through that.
And I didn't understand even how to even think to even talk to him. Though I knew somewhat on the inside, something's going on. Something is crumbling, but something is also working on the inside of me. I couldn't identify it. I couldn't tell you. All I know is I slept with the light on because I was afraid that that man was going to come back and do something. Until that night, on October 9th, is when I yelled out to him. And I said, why do you even have me to be alive? I blamed everything on him. That God, what kind of a God are you that you would allow all these things to happen to me? What kind of a God are you? I want to know, are you really real? You still have me here. Just let me go. And I hadn't cried since I was 9. I made an inner vow. I will never cry again. Nobody will get close enough to me to hurt me or touch me ever again. I will rule and I will make the decisions. And so that night, it was like liquid honey that was poured on me when I was yelling and screaming and blaming this God that I said I didn't believe in. And I fell down on my knees, and for 4.5 hours, I had an encounter with a living God. And I cried. I didn't know that I even had tears.
You had more to give than you had to offer.
I can't even explain to you what this presence was. All I know is that presence wasn't what I experienced at the Occult. It wasn't what I experienced when I was getting high. It wasn't experienced by any other individual, and no matter what I had done up until then in my life, all I know is there was this unbelievable completeness. It was like as if I was being held and hugged on the inside. And when I got up after 4.5 hours, it was 4:30 in the morning, I ran to Mary Lou's house, who was the one who had an experience. And I threw little pebbles at her bedroom window so she would come down. She came down and she said, Roseanne, are you okay? Is everything okay with your home? Because there was always a crisis at home. I said, I met him. She says, what? I said, he came into my room. I met him. There is really a God. He came to me. I met him. And I want to follow him. I want to be his disciple. I want to know everything there is about him. And that was in 1972.
To cliffhang that, just due to the fact that I want to be privy to what I even told him, this story can captivate you in. Segue and share with us, in light of much of what has becoming a disciple and following him.
Yeah, and I think we can, because I know there was a lot that we talking about. I think we could stay in this air though, because Spirit's moving me. What did it feel like, or how did it show itself in your life that everything up until that point was temporary and fleeting, yet the Lord was sustaining and faithful?
I could see how God was really unfolding his plan to capture my heart and to let me know there's a reason why I was still alive. I could hear in a way that I never heard before that his existence was really real. Inside of me, this eternal hug that I experienced that night and the presence that I experienced for 4.5 hours didn't leave.
Mm.
I could actually hear him say my name. And when I heard him say my name, there was this existence of his presence that took away the shattered heart and pain that was there all the time. It wasn't there. Something happened. It's difficult to put it in words, but all I know is that emptiness, that insignificance was not there. I knew it was gone.
Mm.
It was enough. Even if I was to have been gone from this earth, that moment, I knew that there was a living God that really, really heard me.
Mm.
I was heard.
Mm.
I was seen. I was no longer invisible.
Thank you for sharing that. And I feel like we're going to have to put a bookmark into a much longer book and make sure that Roseanne comes back. But we want to honor your time. And so before we end this, what would be, because we want to give people practical steps to be able to love people, to embody the character of Christ into the world. So for someone who has a friend or a loved one who's caught up in either witchcraft or the occult or drugs or just like anything that kind of relates to your story, what would be an encouragement that you would give them for something that they can do for the person that is caught up in those things? Either something that you would have wished someone would have done or what someone actually did while you were in that, or just whatever comes to mind.
You can never go wrong by loving someone, accepting them for where they're at, being there for them. Love never fails. I was looking for God's love to be operated and to become real through someone. I was looking for someone to accept me, for someone to say, I value you. You belong. I'm not going to leave you. You're not going to be an orphan or invisible, insignificant. To be able to show that individual that I am here for you. I'm not going to even preach at you. I'm going to live before you what is available through walking out with a living God.
Amen.
Yeah. That's beautiful imagery to lead us with. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And that's also a good lead for the next time. We're going to have you back soon.
Well, thank you so much.
Just to let you know. So,
Thank you.
Thank you again for the time.
Yeah, hopefully
Thank
it'll
you
be back.
very much.
Yeah. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. We hope y'all enjoyed it. We hope y'all gleaned something from it. We hope y'all go out and be love and go serve in the world. We want to give a shout out to our producer, Matthew, for this episode. And yeah, another one will be coming up here within the next couple weeks. So thank you so much. Much love.
God bless you.